Pocket English Podcast
from your pocket.
Welcome to Pocket English, where we help you survive real life in a second language. Today, we are going to simulate the most terrifying 5 seconds you will ever face when speaking English. Imagine this. You just sat down with a new language partner in a crowded coffee shop. You said your name, they said theirs, you smile, they nod, and then there is dead silence. The panic sets in, your heart beats fast, you worry about your grammar, and your mind goes completely blank.
I remember my first language exchange in a cafe in Madrid. When that exact silence hit, I literally pretended to get an urgent phone call and walked outside, just because I did not know how to keep the conversation going.
By the end of this episode, you will have 3 natural rescue questions to automatically kill that awkward silence and get the other person talking happily. It is so comforting to know I am not the only one who has panicked and run away from a simple conversation.
Oh, I was sweating. The problem is we learn how to introduce ourselves in our very first English class. We practice saying where we are from and what our job is over and over again. But nobody teaches us what to say 5 minutes later when those basic facts run out.
Exactly. And that silence feels like a heavy weight pressing down on you. You want to break the ice, but you just freeze in your chair.
Break the ice? What does that mean exactly?
To break the ice means to do or say something that makes people feel more relaxed and comfortable in a new social situation. You are breaking the freezing tension between strangers.
That is a perfect way to describe it, because that silence definitely feels freezing cold. So how do we melt it? What is our first rescue question?
Our first tool is the notice and ask technique. When your brain is frozen, do not try to invent a brilliant, funny topic. Just look around the room and ask a question about your shared environment.
That takes so much pressure off. If we are in that coffee shop, I don't need to ask them about their deepest life philosophy. I can just ask about the coffee shop itself.
Precisely. A perfect rescue question is, have you been to this cafe before?
Have you been to this cafe before? That is so simple, and it gives them a chance to say yes or no, and then add a little detail. If they say yes, I usually come here on Sundays to read, you instantly have a new topic. You can ask them about what they are reading.
And if you're not in a cafe, you can just adjust it to fit where you are. If you meet at a park, you can say, do you come to this park often?
I actually used this technique last week when I met a new coworker in the office break room. We said hello, and then the terrible silence started. I panicked, looked down, saw the espresso machine, and asked, have you tried the coffee here yet? We ended up talking for 10 minutes about how terrible the office coffee is.
Shared pain is a great way to bond. That's the magic of the notice and ask technique. You're just pointing at the world around you and inviting them to look at it with you. It takes the focus off your language skills and puts it on the environment.
Let's practice this together. I want you, listening right now, to repeat after me out loud wherever you are. Have you been to this cafe before?
Notice the rhythm and the friendly tone. Have you been to this cafe before?
Try one more with me. Have you tried the coffee here yet?
Excellent. Now, sometimes you want to ask about the person, not just the room. In textbooks, we're usually taught to ask, what is your hobby?
I always feel like I'm in a strict job interview when someone asks me, what is your hobby? It feels a bit unnatural and robotic, like I need to have a professional list of achievements prepared.
Right. Native speakers rarely use the word hobby in casual conversation. It sounds a little formal. Instead, we use a much more relaxed phrase. We ask, what do you usually do for fun?
What do you usually do for fun? I love how casual that sounds. It doesn't demand a serious answer. You could say you enjoy playing competitive tennis, or you could just say you enjoy watching movies on the couch. Both are perfect answers.
Exactly. Another fantastic variation of this question is, what do you get up to on the weekends?
Wait, what do you get up to? That sounds like a phrasal verb. What does it mean to get up to something?
It's just a friendly, informal way of asking what someone does. When I ask, what do you get up to on the weekends, I'm simply asking how you spend your free time.
That's incredibly useful. I used to just ask, what do you do on Saturday and Sunday, which sounds fine, but getting up to something sounds so much more natural and native. If you're enjoying these little natural tweaks to your everyday English, you should subscribe to the channel right now so you never miss our weekly speaking tips. It's the absolute easiest way to keep building your conversation confidence on the go.
So, let us practice this second rescue question. Repeat after me. What do you usually do for fun?
Keep it light and relaxed. What do you usually do for fun?
And let us try the second variation. What do you get up to on the weekends?
Beautiful. Now, our third rescue question is what I call the return serve. This is for when the other person asks you a question, you answer it, and then the conversation threatens to die again.
Oh, I hate when that happens. They ask me what I do for fun, I say I like reading, and then we just stare at each other in silence. It feels entirely like my fault.
Exactly. To keep the conversation alive, you have to bounce the ball back to them. You answer briefly, and then you use a magic conversational phrase like, how about you? Or what about you?
I remember learning that in school, but I always felt like my answers were too short. I would say, I read books. How about you? It still felt a bit awkward and dry.
That is where you add a tiny bit of detail using the phrase, I'm really into. For example, you could say, I'm really into science fiction novels lately. How about you?
I'm really into. Does that mean the exact same thing as I like?
Yes, but it shows passion and current interest. If you are really into something, you are fascinated by it right now. It's a great conversation starter because it shows your unique personality.
So if someone asks me what I do for fun, I could say, I'm really into baking bread lately. How about you?
That is perfect. It gives them a specific detail, baking bread, and immediately invites them to share their own interest. It builds a bridge between the two of you.
I could also say, I'm really into playing board games right now. How about you?
Yes, exactly. Let's practice that structure together. Say this out loud wherever you're listening. I'm really into cooking lately. How about you?
I'm really into cooking lately. How about you?
Now it's time to put you to the ultimate test. We're going to simulate that coffee shop scenario right now. Jack and I will set the scene. Jack will play your new language partner. He will answer a question and then he will stop talking.
That's right. I will give a short answer and then I will look at you. You will have 3 seconds of silence to use one of your new rescue questions before the awkwardness sets in. Are you ready? Here we go. You're sitting across from Jack. The cafe is buzzing with people. You just ask Jack if he lives nearby.
Yeah, I live just a few blocks away from here, actually.
He stops talking. The silence begins. 1, 2, 3. Jump in and save the conversation.
Did you ask a rescue question? Did you say, have you been to this cafe before?
Or maybe you used our second technique and asked, what do you usually do for fun?
If you spoke out loud during that silence, you just conquered the hardest part of any conversation. You pushed through the freeze and kept the connection alive.
You know, half the battle is just remembering that the other person is probably nervous too. When you use these rescue questions, you're actually giving them a beautiful gift. You're saving them from the silence.
That is such a great point, Jack. Just smile, listen to their answers, and use these questions to guide the way. You have all the tools you need now to handle any introduction.
I want to know what you're passionate about right now. Down in the comments, tell me something you love doing by using the phrase, I'm really into. For example, I'm really into learning photography lately.
I can't wait to read what you're really into. Practice these phrases out loud today. And remember, every single conversation makes you stronger. See you next time.